know that music, hip hop was going to be something you was going to tap into, or was it more it found you? Did hip hop find you, or did you find hip hop?
I think a little bit of both. I think back then, before my father, again, he passed when I was 6, but
Right.
before he passed, a lot of the stuff that he would instill in me was like, you're the only boy. Protect your sisters and your mom, and you have to provide for them. So, I was filled with those ideals, and then he passed when I was young. So I assumed I was like, okay, the way he provided was through music, so let me go and do that as well. Now, that obligation led me down the path. I did find love for it, and it turned out I was good at it. So that was good. It wasn't like I just jumped in and I was trash and I kept going. Like, I definitely learned a lot and put in my 10,000 hours. And I do love music in itself. I think that it was always, I think I chose it though out of obligation and what I thought a provider looked like because I was young and ignorant. And then when I went down that path for so long, I spent so much time developing that skill that I just kind of kept doing it. Like I like the road was there and I took it, if that makes sense. But yeah, I definitely love it. But it's an interesting dynamic where I feel like if my father wasn't who he was, or if he had a different job, or if I was raised differently, maybe I would have found it later. I know I would have found it at some point, but I think I would have more so found it maybe like, if I pursued a regular career path and then after college or during college started making music, something like that, versus trying as soon as he passed to try to fill that gaping hole in like, the family's what they needed. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Hearing that you actually got to be on a big stage so young, did you have opportunities to be on the big stage with your dad?
Oh no, 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 definitely not. I mean, there were times when we was with him in the studio. Maybe he brought us to a show here and there, but yeah, no, but where he was performing, and especially like in the '90s, and the early 2000. Well, he died 2000, so really the late '90s, mid to late '90s. It was really, and the type of music he made, that horrorcore gangster hood vibes, like it was way too dangerous to bring children to the to the show. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So we definitely didn't really. I wasn't on stage with him. Unfortunately, I would have been cool. I would have loved to have seen him perform and like grasp that. But I've seen videos and stuff like that, so I'm able to see it. But back then, it was really before a lot of cameras too, so it's not as much footage. Like you kind of had to be there in the '90s, apparently. So, like it's one of those things. But yeah, I didn't. And again, I started pursuing it after he passed. So I would say, the first biggest stages I hit was probably 2 or 3 years after he was gone. Yeah.
And that was when you were a part of Three Down.
Yes, there was a couple times, maybe before that, where they did like a tribute or like a hosting or like a under where like I rapped his verse and I was like 6 years old. I think that happened one time, but actually me doing my own music and actual big stages and like festivals or concerts and stadiums, that yeah, that was part of Three Down. Yeah.
What was that experience like for you to be the one on the stage? Thousands of people's eyes on you.
Yeah, it's funny. Like when I was a little kid, I think I didn't grasp the magnitude of what was happening. Like again, like I kind of just steamrolled like, okay, I'm supposed to do this. This is cool. And I was good at disassociating and kind of just going along with like my objectives or tasks. So when I was on stage, it kind of felt more like okay, I'm just gonna go do this. I wasn't like it wasn't dawning on me that there's thousands of people here, all this stuff. I would say I was more nervous when I picked it back up after high school. I did stuff here and there throughout it, but when I started taking again seriously like towards the later years of high school, and I had my first show in maybe over like a decade or 5 6 years, and I was an adult. It wasn't even as big as the shows I was doing back then. Those are like again like stay opening for DMX and like it was huge, like tens of thousands of people, thousands of people. This is probably maybe a couple hundred people or like just a small spot, and I'm here like sweating bullets, like I'm scared, I'm nervous. I'm like it felt like my first time performing, and it took me a while to get comfortable on stage. But I guess because as you get older, you start being more aware of like, oh, people are watching you, people are judging you. I was too young to even care what people thought. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And I think that's really the way to be. So it took me a long time to get back to thinking about how I thought about it when I was, 9.
If we could all keep that, the obliviousness of innocence, where you dance the way you want to dance, you say what you want to say, and you don't really worry about what other people are thinking because you still have that innocence as a
Yeah.
child.